Smelling good. Get a little taste. Very good. Hello everybody, Mario here from Manripo, and today we're going to do a video on how to cook saltfish the Trini style. We have Sierra filming here as my camera woman, and we're going to take you through this wicked, succulent, tasty dish, saltfish, Trini style. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to discuss the ingredients that we'll need for a tasty saltfish recipe. So, of course, you'll need your saltfish, and I have here about a pound of cured cod, and it's boned. So the bones have been removed, and sometimes you'll see packages that say boneless or bone-in. Boned is what you want. Bone means that the bones have been taken out. And this is going to be a quite tasty meal when it's added with all the seasonings and the other ingredients. So, codfish. 2 scallion. Of course, we'll be dicing all these ingredients. Tomatoes, chopped up, probably about 6 to 8. Of course, an onion, about half an onion. Cilantro, which is a substitute for shadow benny, which is an ingredient that is popular in the Caribbean, but it tastes very similar. Olive oil, probably about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or vegetable oil if you have it. Sorry. Thyme. If you don't have fresh thyme, you can use about half a teaspoon of thyme, quarter teaspoon of thyme. 1/3 teaspoon of black pepper, and sometimes I use fresh cloves. If you don't have fresh cloves, you can just use some garlic sauce, probably about 2 teaspoons of garlic sauce, or 3 to taste. Okay, we're trying to cut down on the consumption of salt because there's quite a bit of salt in this, so we don't really need salt. But you can also add green peppers or red bell peppers for some added flavor. But generally, these are the traditional ingredients that you would find in our Trini style saltfish recipe. Okay, guys, so we are at a critical stage in the cooking process, and this is the key part of making good Trini style saltfish is this part right here, is getting the salt out of the fish. Now, what gives this dish its traditional flavor is the salt and the taste of the fish, and of course the other ingredients that you would add. But those flavors gives it, these flavors give it its unique taste, right? So we don't want to boil too much of the salt out, and we want to leave just the right amount that would give it its characteristic taste. So what we're going to do now is boil out a lot of this salt. So what we like to do is boil it to the point where it's close to boiling over, and you'll notice it'll get all bubbly, and you want to do that 3 times. Now, as you can see now, it's starting to boil up, and all that salt is coming up. So just before it boils over, you just pour that water out, refill, and because it's so difficult to gauge when you have enough salt out of the fish, I've been taught, like from my mother and from my aunt, with this recipe, is to boil it 3 times. That's a three pour out rule. So it boils up once, it gets to the point where it's going to boil over, pour it out. You do that 3 times, and from there you should be in a good position to start tasting it to see if it needs to be boiled some more. You shouldn't need to boil it for more than 10 or 15 minutes after that at a medium heat, and the salt should be at a level where it's going to have that flavor that you want. Okay, everyone, So we've removed all of the water and most of the salt, and now we're ready to season. Um, right now we've just letting this cool, and we're gonna show you. We're gonna move on to the next. Chopped up our ingredients. We have the scallion, the tomatoes, the onion, and the cilantro. We have the thyme and pepper, just about a half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon each. And we have our olive oil, and we're ready to move on. So what we're doing now is just after we've let the fish cool down a little bit, we're gonna just separate the pieces of fish. We don't want to make it too stringy, so we want to just separate enough where it separates naturally, right? We don't want to do it too much so that it looks wiry and fibrous. Just separate it enough that it splits apart on its own. You see that it's coming apart quite easily. Okay guys, we're back. We're ready to move on now. Our pot is nice and hot. I'm gonna add our 2 tablespoons of oil, vegetable oil or olive oil. And what we're gonna do now is adding the saltfish, and we're just gonna glaze the fish. So mix it around. You want to get that oil all over the fish, and you want to keep an eye on your heat. Right now you want it high while you're doing that glazing process. Nice and covered. Make sure the oil is nice and covering all of the fish. And right now you can really start to smell that fish, and smelling quite good right now. So do that for about 2 or 3 minutes, keeping your eye on the heat. You want to add your thyme and your pepper. Turn around. You want to add about 2 tablespoons of garlic sauce. Make sure that's in the middle. Yes. Just let those flavors marry. Let those seasonings soak in together. And this is really starting to smell good. So you want to drop your heat to about mid-level, medium. And add your rest of your ingredients. And what's going to happen is when you let this simmer down a bit, remember you're always paying attention to your heat. The fish is going to release its own liquids. I'm going to drop this around 2.5 or 3 and cover it down, probably for about 20 minutes or so. And you'll notice that, like I said, the liquids will release, and you'll get a little bit of a sauce in the pan, and the heat will let all those flavors come out from the cilantro and the pepper and the garlic and so on. So I'm gonna let this cook for about 50 minutes on low heat. Okay, we'll be right. You can see here, it's about 25 minutes cooking on low, and you can see it's more moist. You can add a little bit more olive oil if you choose. Like I said, more peppers and bell peppers. You can do this. You can customize this however you like. This is how I like to make it. Sometimes I like to put in some pumpkin. But as you can see, it's turned out quite well and it actually tastes very good. So thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more tasty recipes.